Hey everybody, Robert Creamer here. Today we're going to go over module number 10, which is hospitality and specialty. It's not going to be too long because a lot of the details are going to be in the additional PDF and Word docs. But let's get started. Let's go. And right now, hospitality is just getting crushed. Hopefully they come back right after COVID gets out of here. But let me share my screen. Desktop number 2. Share. There we go. All right. So let's get started. All right. So hospitality and specialty. Okay. So in hospitality, you're going to hear the terminology flag. Now you're going to say, what is a flag, right? The flag is the name of the management company, the brand of the hotel, Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt. Those are flags. They usually have a management agreement in place with the owner if they are not the owner. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that can be bad. If you want a major brand and they still have 20 years left and you like the terms, fantastic. But if you don't like the brand, if you are with the Marriott organization, but it's branded by Hilton right now, you could have a problem. So it just depends on what you're looking for. All right. So hotels and resorts are typically sold while operating. If they are vacant or no longer operational, you're just buying the real estate with the intent to turn back into an operational hotel. That's generally speaking how it works, but we're in September as I'm redoing this video, and a lot of these older hotels, they're actually being converted into multifamily, which is pretty unique. We don't see that, or we have not seen that in the past. Right? We've seen some old crappy apartments go into multifamily or get rehabbed into condo conversion or brought up from a C to a B, but not so much have we seen hotels going back to multifamily. And we're actually seeing quite a bit of that right now across the country because travel's down. People would rather stay in an Airbnb, a little more private, a little more secluded, not so many people around, just from the uncertainty and the fear that some people have during this COVID experience. As an operating entity, you're buying the operational agreement, including all future bookings, equipment, and contracts. So usually when you're looking at taking over hotel operation, you're buying the real estate, the cash flow, and the business operation from it. So it's not just a real estate play, right? You're buying the entire process. Seeing how this is not your typical transaction, you need to discuss how to inform the staff when the transaction does finalize. You don't want the current staff and booking agents to stop or leave unexpectedly, right? You don't want a hiccup in your production, in your cash flow, in your bookings, in your occupancy. You want everything to continue as if nothing ever happened in a perfect world. This could negatively affect the value and purchase price, right? Worst case for a seller, the buyer comes in, causes noise, we think it's gonna close, so seller just says, okay, and then they end up bailing on the deal. They couldn't get financing or whatever. Well, now you're in trouble. You probably had staff leave, some management quit. Who knows, right? Don't take the risk. Some larger hotel transactions have a stock portion that needs to be addressed as well. Just check and discuss with the attorney on best way to handle. This will typically be above the sale price with its own terms. So just understand the financials and what is being conveyed with the transaction. Right? Just make sure you're on top of it and you're asking all the right questions. Or I say asking all the right questions, right? But asking any question that needs to be asked. I guess it'd be the same thing, right? So if it was me, I'd be, okay, what all is included with the sale? What type of sale? Asset sale? Are we buying the brand? Is there a management agreement in place? What information do you have that needs to be conveyed to me, the buyer, so my attorney can review it? If you ask that multiple times and maybe a few different ways, you should be getting everything, and they should be above board anyways. If you're dealing directly with the owner, it might be a little more challenging. If you're dealing with a hotel broker, a hospitality broker, they should have a list of all the due diligence items, and they should be fully aware what needs to be transferred for review during your due diligence process. So with the broker, it should be easier. If it's an owner, it may be their first time to buy and now sell their hotel. So they may not have all their information together, which means you may need a longer due diligence timeline to make sure you know exactly what you're buying. So just educate yourself, adapt, and plan accordingly based on the facts, the figures, and the information you're getting up front. Now remember, some of these hotels have the flag, like we just talked about, and the flag has to also approve the new purchaser, right? You don't just get to transfer. You may have a bad reputation. You may have ruined a couple of their other former properties in Florida, but now you're buying in Texas, and they're like, what would change, right? So don't think this is going to be automatic. Should the flag not approve the new owner, they may not allow the sale to go through, or they may require a hefty fee to terminate the agreement and remove the flag, or they could require you to attach yourself as a joint venture to another partner, bring them in so you're more financially strong, or they have the experience that you don't, or they've been a great operator where you haven't, right? They may need some additional information. It's the same thing when you're doing syndications. If you're the syndicator and you're going to get the loan, they want to make sure you've done this before, you have the capital, and you can qualify. So when they look at your financials, not only do they look at the money, they want to make sure, have you been involved in the syndication? Have you led the process? Do you have the experience to make us feel comfortable? Same here. Also of note, if you're buying a hotel that hasn't been updated in a while, there may be a PIP that the owner needs to convey and the buyer needs to be okay with. So a property improvement plan, a PIP, is required to bring a hotel in compliance with brand standards. According to HVS, an effective PIP should help owners gain market share, increase guest satisfaction, drive revenue performance, and enhance profitability. So basically, if let's say I bought the property and I'm selling it to you or your client, Mr. Broker, I bought it 6 years ago, and this was the brand's image 6 years ago. Let's just say it was a Best Western or La Quinta or whatever it is. This was what their appearance was. This was their logo. This is their color scheme. This is how their restaurant, bar, lobby was set up, right? They're all pretty cookie cutter for a reason. Now, since then, they've adapted a new scheme, different colors, different lobby setup. They found a way that made workflow work better, whatever it is. If you're buying it, they may say, great, but now you have to bring up your entire lobby, your entire colors up to the now. This is the new brand. We're moving forward from day one, or your new day one with this. So when you buy it, you not only have to buy it, but you have to pay for the work to be done to bring everything up to the now. So that could be 100, 200, 300, a million. You just need clarity. Find out what they need, if it's going to be required, and what the cost is. All right, so review PIP with the professional. There could be items not needed or that can wait. Okay, so now we're going to go over the process. So you're the broker, you have a client, they own a hotel, they said, yes, I want to list it. You're my guy, you're my girl, let's get started, right? Okay, so you're to agree to the scope of the work, the fees, the commission, the terms and condition of your listing agreement. You can use a basic one. You don't need to go into too much detail, but the things you do have to ask are like, do the staff know? Does management know? Does anybody know this is for sale? Can we put this on the open market? Does it need to stay off market because we don't want them disturbed? Does the flag know that we're going to sell this piece of real estate, right? Just find out, ask questions. All right, so you inspect the property, get your thoughts together, see what's wrong, right, good, bad. Collect and review all the documentation you can, including financials, management agreements, get a due diligence or a feasibility Dropbox folder together. Get a marketing strategy and potential buyers in mind. Approve marketing process with the owner. Again, you need to make sure they are okay with you either marketing it or that you must not market it on the open market. So just be aware that is a question you need to ask. And our life does become a little bit more challenging when we can't broadcast it. There's still plenty of ways to get property sold. And the longer you've been in the business, the more connections you have. And again, remember, the broker community is always your friend. Whenever you have a listing that you can't broadcast, just call the other brokers, say, I have a product we can't go live on, but I wanted to make sure I got it in front of you because I know you're a great agent in our market and you deal with hotel buyers all the time. Do you have anybody that might consider X, Y, and Z? Do that. Determine asking price. Produce the marketing material. Prepare staff or agree how to handle staff and customers, right? Some people want to make a tour. Sometimes we have to pretend that we're insurance adjusters, just so the staff or management doesn't know the property's for sale. So they won't fear losing their job and make things more challenging for everybody. Yeah. Reach out to the potential buyers, right? So usually on a process like this, they're going to want you to reach out pretty quick. So even before you have some marketing material, as you're going through the process, you may want to reach out to them and say, hey, guess what? I have this. I have something coming up in 30 days. Do you have anyone right now? Right? Provide OM, offering memorandum to interested parties. So first you got to create that with that marketing piece we talked about a moment ago, get it approved. But your offering memorandum is going to include a lot of information, demographics, how long the contract is with the brand, general financials, right? You're not going to include every piece of financial information, but you can if they say that's okay. You can have every line item. Most hotels I've looked at, they don't. That's a little bit later. That's if requested by the brokers. They'll have a snapshot of gross revenue, expenses, and net operating income. And usually they're sold on some sort of a multiplier or a cap rate or both. So just my advice would be go find 3 to 5 hotels on the market in your state and then dig around and try and get OMs and see if you can look at a couple and say what you like, what you don't like, and what you think you could do better or what you can leave out or what you got to add to the one you already had in process, right? Look at what's working and what looks visually appealing. Now the visual side, just make it look sexier and you just want to read it, but the facts are what's going to get it sold. So make sure you have good, accurate information from the seller. All right, then of course we review all our offers coming in, negotiate terms with buyer, assist with the due diligence process, draft and finalize contract, PSA, purchase and sale agreement, and then of course we complete the transaction. Which is, I mean, hotels are, they were a fantastic, and a ton of them were moving in 2019. 2020, obviously, the hotel industry is just taking a massive setback. Now they're going to come back. How quick? I don't know. I've been in hotels and they're like 20% occupied, and it's a struggle for a lot of them to survive right now. But they're going to come back. Everyone's going to feel a little more safer traveling again. And just to, I mean, probably like you, whenever I go to a hotel or the airport now, I feel really safe. I mean, they're over the top cleaning. It is crazy how much they're cleaning right now. Okay, so when they do bounce back, or you do have some buyers or sellers ready to hit the market because things are moving, you have to know what factors are going to help or hurt you, because the buyer or seller on the other side is going to know. So just go ahead and assume that's going to be an objection and come in, just get it out of the way, right? It's like if you know certain, if you're good at observing the DISC profile test and you are understanding of how the other party most likely will communicate back with you or what objections are going to come from based on their personality profile, then you can go ahead and curb that right up front. Well, this is all you're doing. You're just saving time and you're saying, look, I know this area in our market is a potential obstacle. I know this is a win. Let's focus on the wins, maybe touch on this. And if they bring it up, they can go into detail. That you just have to gauge on what's going to make the most sense for that conversation. But again, take that DISC profile test or a test like it. All right, so how much profit does the hotel make? What multiple are clients, or is this buyer willing to pay? What multiplier? I spelled that wrong. So what multiplier are this client or your buyers willing to pay? What is the condition of the hotel? Is there new supply coming onto the market? Is the current supply upgrading? Is the current supply closing or selling? Right now, on prime location hotels, a ton of them are taking this downtime to spend money on capital improvements or the PIP that may come in the future. They're already doing it, right? I'm a member of Stonebriar Country Club and there's a Westin attached to it. Well, it's shut down, right? So they're just redoing the entire interior. And a lot of hotels are doing this right now, especially the ones in prime locations. Now, if no one's doing it in your marketplace, that's a little concerning as well. So just, you have to have your finger in the pulse and figure out what is happening in that market, right? Has the demand shifted? Are more or less people wanting to stay at a hotel and go to a VRBO or an Airbnb. Okay, what does that do for your average daily rate, your ADR? What if it drops 25%? What's the risk? Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. Can we maintain the rates we did going into 2020 again? What will our occupancy look like? Are we going to take a 15% hit, a 5% hit, a 30% hit? What does that do for our staff numbers? How fast are we going to be able to open back to 100%? When might we see a potential 85, 90% occupancy again? What will our revenue look like? Is there any way we can cut costs? Right? Is the demand shifting? We don't know. We don't know yet. New growth area in the city, right? If you're looking at one hotel, but a new city center, new mixed-use development, new brand new hotels coming in a hotspot, okay, well then you may have to lower your rates to compete. If they come in with lower rates to try and buy market share, or just pay attention. Are their rates double yours? Well, then you should be just fine because you're half the price and right around the corner. So just understand your market, right? What's happening with construction costs? Is the PIP going to be astronomical when we have to do it? How's the economy doing? Hello, COVID. How's the lending environment? Can you imagine trying to get a loan right now on a hotel purchase? That's going to be pretty tough. That's kind of like buying land. There is no revenue. Are some of the other investment vehicles less or more attractive than the hotels, right? Is this going to be an easy transaction? Is this going to be difficult to move given the economy? You got to be the expert. And if you're not the expert, it's okay. You have the relationship, which is extremely powerful and important. Attach yourself to a broker who can help you. Get the job done together. You'd be surprised. The bigger hotel groups, that's all they do. They just do hospitality and they know all the buyers and sellers. Save yourself the headache, the learning process, and the pitfalls by you having the relationship, hook in with another commercial broker in the hospitality world, connect and get the job done. Just split it 50-50 if you need to. If the hospitality broker's not willing to do that, just find a win. Is the juice worth the squeeze for you? They're gonna get it done more than likely, way faster and for way more money than you could, just because they're the experts. They already have the clientele list. And it could be a fast transaction. I mean, right now, maybe not, but under normal circumstances, if we get back there. All right, reputation of the property management company. How is that? Future, the same thing as a multifamily, right? Google it, see the reviews. Are they good, okay, bad? Now again, they're a little bit skewed because most people who have a okay to good aren't gonna leave a review. Good to great, a little better, excellent, fairly good chance to leave a review if you ask. Negative review, they're gonna leave a review, right? Or if they had a negative experience. So, those are always a little bit skewed. Future potential of location and property. Supply and demand your local market, right? What is everything doing? What's gonna hurt, hinder, whatever for the sale? How do you choose a management company, right? The right management company. Because you could be buying a vacant one right now with no flag. Now you're coming in, now you have to choose the management company. You have to choose the flag. That's difficult. You have to review and you have to see who wants to be in that market and then look at their contracts. They're all good. And if y'all haven't seen those OYO hotels popping up across the country and world, that's a fascinating story, actually. Go Google the OYO hotel story. It's pretty remarkable. I'd love to hear y'all's feedback on it. Go check it out. It's pretty, I'm not gonna talk about it. Just go check it out. It's awesome. All right, when is the best time to sell? How do we price this property? Right, these are all questions that if you don't know, or you've never been down this rabbit trail before, the fastest way to learn is attaching yourself to one of the experts. Online, if you go to CoStar and LoopNet, you're gonna see all of them trading on a cap rate. Some at 9, some at 10, some at 11, some at 8. Usually I'm seeing higher cap rates because you're buying the business as well as the real estate. If the business starts suffering, you way overpaid. So it's kind of a combination valuation. But again, this is just surface level. We will have a hotel expert come and talk to us, teach a class. And we may have to have like a learn commercial level 2 and all that stuff, because if we go into this level of detail, I mean, we're going to have day-long classes, right? There's tons of information on hospitality. So on all of our asset classes, the best thing you can do when you get started, call me, call someone in the local market, hook up together, and write a contract or listing with that person. This is all good information we're sharing, right? I want to give you all the best foundation I can, and then we're going to build on that foundation over the next couple of months, years, right? The mastermind community, we're going to share deals together. We're all going to learn and grow together. But if you get a listing today, you don't have time to wait. And I can't wait to give you a day-long class that you didn't even know you needed until you had the relationship with the hotel guy. So use the network we have, use the broker community. I got a great hotel guy. So if you got a hotel, let me know. All right, so now we're going to jump into specialty real estate. So that's kind of everything else. It's not office, it's not retail, right? It's not hospitality. So what is specialty? What do you even cover? All right, there's gonna be a lot of them. These are just some examples. I may just run through these quick because there's a lot. Amusement park, bowling alley, car wash, cemeteries, clubhouses, cold storage, dormitories, farms, funeral homes, gas station, golf course, hospitals, surgery centers, urgent care, hotels, and motels. I know that's specialty, but they can still be considered specialty, which to me is weird. To me, they always fall under hospitality, but there you go. And sometimes that just means you need a special use permit for a specific area, but they are in the category of specialty real estate. I don't know, weird. I don't make the rules. Marinas, mines, museums. That'd be crazy to sell a gold mine, right? I almost did. Nursing homes, assisted living facility, oil wells, quarries, gravel pits, railroads. Lately, I've been doing some quarry stuff, and there's a big money in quarries. Service centers, oil and lube, breaker transmission centers, sports arenas, swimming pools, tennis clubs, theaters, wineries. That's a lot of stuff, right? So, and there's probably more, right? So this all falls under just specialty, and that doesn't really mean anything other than they didn't have a placeholder for it. It wasn't in retail, it wasn't in office, that's all it means. It's just unique, and if it still fits in the area, the zoning could allow it, or you may have to get a special use zoning, but we're gonna talk about that here real quick. Okay, so special purpose. Now, y'all are gonna have access to this, but if you follow that link, there's a whole laundry list of stuff you can review on special purpose. But a special use permit allows a landowner to obtain a tract of land for use that does not fall directly under the permitted usage for that specifically zoned area. In most areas, the community is separated into different zones determined by the community zoning commission. These zones are then given a specific set of by right permitted uses. This means that any land within the zone can be used for the permitted usage only, by right of the owner. In addition to the regular usages under the local zoning regulations, each zone is usually given a special use section allowing for uses that are just outside the intended use for that zone. Now, that may be a little bit confusing. If you look at the zoning code for your county, state, whatever you have, it's gonna have a list of permitted uses, and then close to it, right, the special uses. If they don't, or you can't find your use, just call. And in fact, even if it says it, but it doesn't spell it out exactly how you need it, make sure you call. And again, like the last class, it's not just that, we have to look at the deed. So just because you're allowed it, if they have some crazy blockage or some crazy nonsense language in the deed, you got to check that too. So it could be, zoning could be fantastic, good to go. Last thing you got to do is look at the title policy once you go into contract, or if you can get it prior, great. But you feel free to go to that website, check it out. It can be a little bit confusing, but again, when in doubt, call the city. If it takes too long, they're too busy, post it in the mastermind Facebook community and let's start talking about it. All right. So same again, there's that link, a little bit different. So now needing a special use permit. A special use permit must be obtained by a landowner who wishes to develop a tract of land whose purposes is included in the special uses ordinances for that zone. The zoning permit allows the owner to develop that land for his own intended use, even if it does not fall within the by right guidelines for that particular zone. Examples of special uses under your local zoning guidelines may include schools, funeral homes, hospitals, cemeteries, and other types of land uses which do not fit exactly into the description of residential or commercial use, right? So again, it just says this is close, but how do you categorize a cemetery? It's not retail, it's not office, it's not industrial, it's special use, right? You need to get a special use permit. All right, so obtaining a special use permit. Usually a special use permit is granted if the landowner's application is brought before the zoning commission in a public forum and the community does not object to the proposed development. A local attorney can advise the owner if a special permit is needed and the appropriate steps for any required special use permit. So again, this is not going to be the responsibility of the broker because we can't go to the city on behalf of the seller or the buyer. We don't own the property, and the buyer can't do it until they own the property. So all you can really do is do your due diligence and make sure the intended or the future use is like 95+% gonna work, which can be a little bit tricky. Or you can have the seller work with the buyer in order to get that done. But again, call the city when needed. We do have to get attorneys involved with this. And if you're proposing some crazy special use like putting an arena or a cemetery or a water park next to a residential community, you need their approval. So when you do this, they have a board. I'm sure if you live in a brand new neighborhood like where I live, all the time they're changing the zoning or changing something on 380, which is the road in front of my house. They're changing what's going to happen or take place, or they rezoned a part of this new development in the back and they send us a letter. By the way, Hunt Developers is planning on changing this zoning to this. There's a meeting on Tuesday at 7 p.m. You need to attend. Right now it's kind of weird because they're all Zoom meetings, but you have to attend. If you have any objections, you can state them at that time. And then of course, if they get enough signature to deny it, you may not be able to do that on that land. So, sometimes getting these special use permits on these specialty properties, that's why the due diligence can be 6 months, 9 months, a year, because it takes so long to get this approved and across the finish line, right? And so who lends on real estate like this, right? Usually this is going to be hyper local lender, hard money, or private equity coming into partner, JV, or they're just used to this type of transaction, right? Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they may not be your best resource unless you've been banking there 20 years, you have a massive portfolio with them. If that's the case, then they may always be your best lender because you have a relationship, they understand your financial position, and it's kind of a no-brainer, right? If you had millions of dollars with them or your buyer does, then, and they're looking at buying a $300,000 property, it shouldn't matter what it is. They have the collateral, they have the equity, they're good, right? They're solid financially. So yeah. All right, and of course, here's our homework for the week. I know we ran through that kind of quick because the hospitality and the specialty it's not one of the first couple transactions most people typically do. And if it is, you definitely shouldn't be doing it alone. You need to attach yourself to that broker. I didn't want to go too deep on purpose because that's going to cause probably some confusion, some misconceptions, and you may feel overconfident that you can go ahead and tackle this on your own. When I first did it, I couldn't. I may have been able to, but I wasn't willing to risk it. And I knew my learning, the time frame that it would take me to learn and get this done properly was going to take me longer than I had. They wanted it listed like tomorrow, right? So I had to attach myself to a broker, learn because they're the expert. So make sure you do that, please. Especially if you're a residential realtor, make sure you attach yourself. Let's get the highest probability of you getting paid and avoiding as many pitfalls as possible. So you're going to learn the right way to do it, as opposed to what a lot of people did, like when I first got started, which I failed forward a lot until I figured it out, right? So here we go. All right, so look at 2 deals this week. Hospitality assets, better yet, look at 5. Check out that OM. What do you like? What don't you like? What don't you understand? Do you get why the PIP is needed? Do you get what the brand is, the flag? It can be a 5-year, 10-year, 25, 50 years contract with the flag. Get to know what that looks like. Evaluate your top one and say why. So when you look at these, pretend you're the investor. I'm buying this property. When I look at through this OM, does this make sense? Why does it make sense? Is it easy? Are you missing something? If it doesn't make sense, what do I need to investigate, educate, look at, ask questions on, and then go to the Facebook community and start posting about it. Ask the questions to the community. Evaluate your top one and say why. Do you think the numbers they have shown are realistic? Could they be better, worse, too risky? Right? I mean, right now there are no numbers, so well, they're very minimal. It's crazy. Where's the biggest win with this property? If you had the capital, would you buy this? And if the answer above is yes, then let's definitely make it happen. If you ever find any property, you say, Robert, I found something, I think I want to make a run at it. In multiple classes now, we keep talking. If you find the right deal, the money's easy. If you find an amazing opportunity, send it over to us. Let us help you evaluate it. Make a run at it. Let's go. Right? Complete the following. What special use real estate caught your attention of that list? If you had to choose one or two to dig into, what would they be? Do you have any in your market area? Are there any for sale? If so, dig in. What do the numbers look like? What if Schlitterbahn in Texas was for sale? That'd be a big price tag. What if a batting cage with a putting green inside were for sale? What about a cemetery? Evaluate what you need to have in place in order to pull the trigger on a property to buy. So one thing you need to start looking at, insider trading is legal, right? So you need to start setting yourself up and understanding, and you're going to get it easily once you go through a few transactions. But understand what you personally need to have in place and ready to go in the event we find that property for you. You find that property for yourself. You just went ahead and wrote a contract, right? What do I need to have? And then what can we help to get you ready for that moment, right? This entire process is so we can educate all of us better on commercial real estate, challenge each other with becoming better brokers, overcoming obstacles. And if we've just never run into an issue, just bring it to everyone's attention. Like, I don't know if anyone's seen this, but this is what I just experienced in my market. We all get better with what's happening in the lending world. We understand what's happening in Florida, California, Phoenix, Dallas, Chicago, right? By talking, we get a better idea of what's happening around the country. Where right now is the best place to invest our money? Right. Did you time block again? Work in your top 3 bucket lists? Review 10 deals? We can't make you get into action, like we keep saying. The ones who succeed get into action. Are you going to be all talk, or are you going to take massive action to reach your true potential? Talent is overrated, guys. Drive and passion are everything. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen. So guys, I do appreciate it greatly for you taking a listen today. And we're going to have a hospitality broker come and talk to us about the ins and outs, what he loved, why he jumped in, and what made him stay. And what does this look like in 2020? How have the owners and sellers, or how have the owners and people wanting to sell and people wanting to buy, what's their feedback? What are their thoughts? Do they see massive opportunity on the horizon? Imminent collapse? More converting to multifamily? What do they think is going to happen? Well, guys, again, any questions, go to the Facebook community. Let's get some more interaction there. Let's get excited. And if you have any questions, feel free and reach out. I so appreciate y'all being here and helping us grow. So thanks again, guys. Y'all have a great one. We'll talk soon. We'll see you in the Facebook community and on the live calls. Thanks. Have a good one.